Welcome to the newsroom for Friday, May 29, 2020. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. The Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, has set June 13th as the deadline to complete the national vote recount. It has also decided that the declaration of the results will take place no later than 3 days after the Chief Elections Officer presents his report. This is contained in the amended order, which has since been gazetted and published. The original 25-day timeline for the recount expires on Saturday. After the recount is completed for each of the 10 electoral districts, a certificate with the total votes cast for each party is prepared and signed off. Once all the districts are completed, the Chief Elections Officer will have to add up the totals from the 10 certificates and present a report to GECOM for it to declare the results. The order states that the Chief Elections Officer will have to do his tabulation on or before June 13th and present this to GECOM with a summary of observations made during the recount. The Commission, after deliberating on the report, will then determine whether it should request the Chief Elections Officer to use the data compiled as the basis for a final report. The Guyana Elections Commission has embarked on its own investigation following allegations that citizens who migrated or were not in Guyana for the March 2nd general and regional elections were actually marked off as having voted. APNU plus AFC nominated GECOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander spoke with the media today.
Well, first of all, the public can expect some concrete information in relation to what has come out of the observation reports, and therefore that concrete information should be related to whether we had migrants voting, whether we had dead people voting, and a number of other anomalies which have already been brought to the public attention along the way.
This would mean that the Secretariat would have to do some amount of reconciliation of the information in the observation reports and present it.
Well, I wouldn't call it reconciliation. I would call it, they would have to do summation. And in that summation, as far as possible, they would have to quantify.
Yeah, but out of the quantifying and the summation, we would want to know if it is factual that migrants have voted or the...
Definitely, because what I'm saying is if they're going to speak about migrants, it has to be based on evidence provided. And therefore, based on the evidence provided, they'll have to come to a conclusion and to quantify in relation to that conclusion.
So this means that the Secretariat also will be doing some verification of the information.
I repeat, as I've said previously, with specific reference to the migrants.
I remember you.
That information has been submitted, that has been forwarded to the Chief Immigration Officer, and depending on the returns, we will be in a position to make a pronouncement. I think what the Chief Immigration Officer provides will be conclusive evidence on the matter. We can then provide, quantify what has occurred in that circumstance.
But PPP nominated GECOM Commissioner says Gunraj says he has no clue that a letter by GECOM was sent to the Chief Immigration Officer. As a matter of fact, Gunraj said the commission, headed by Justice Claudette Singh, has not made a decision on how to deal with the anomalies coming out of the recount.
GECOM has taken no decision. The Commission has taken absolutely no decision insofar as it relates to treating with any of the issues that have arisen or may arise during this recount process, insofar as they are recorded either in individual observation reports or compiled observation reports. And I want to reject as well, out of hand, any contention that GECOM has sought or will seek information from any extraneous agency to deal with that and to conduct any investigation on its own volition or otherwise into these allegations that were raised during this period. And it is important that that is noted because the ambit or the legal authority with which GCOM is clothed and the wherewithal which it possesses to execute its functions does not include investigation of any of these things. Maybe, just maybe, if we were clothed with this responsibility of investigation, we might have already investigated and made findings on the actions of the returning officer Mingo in relation to the fraudulent declarations that he attempted to perpetuate on this nation, thereby attempting to thwart the will of the electorate on March the 5th and on March the 13th.
Country representative of the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, Dr. William Adukro, has taken a harsh stance against the Public Health Ministry, accusing it of failing in its fight against tobacco use in the country. Bibi Katoon reports.
World No Tobacco Day 2020 will be observed on Sunday under the theme Protecting Youth from Industry Manipulation and Preventing Them from Tobacco and Nicotine Use. PAHO WHO hosted an event on Friday to commemorate World No Tobacco Day, but the agency's country representative Dr. William Adukro blasted the government's inaction to curb tobacco use. He pointed out that the National Tobacco Act was passed in the National Assembly in 2017, and 3 years later, the government has failed to implement it even though it can significantly reduce the spread of non-communicable diseases.
With the Tobacco Control Bill of 2017, if we are to implement it and make sure that all the tenets are met, we'll be a long way from where we are now. The thing is, there are a lot of challenges and we are not implementing the tenets as they should be. So along those routes, I think we are failing. We definitely need to do more.
Dr. Adukro pointed out that the absence of the ministry's Public Relations Department or the NCD unit at Friday's event shows there is a lack of commitment to weeding out the use of tobacco. He believes the Ministry of Public Health is not serious in its fight against the substance.
I'm saying this with a clear conscience. Here we are. We're talking about World No Tobacco Day, and I do not see the Ministry of Public Health non-communicable diseases staff here. And maybe they have another function, fine. But we need to be doing more. If we're serious, we have to show in what we do. Otherwise, we'll pass laws after laws after laws and get practically nowhere. We have to do better. I would want to see here we have, Angela here. But we need to see also the communications department from the Ministry of Public Health. Where are they? I think this is a shame.
Present at the event was Attorney at Law Cassandra Alves, who is a member on the council responsible for advising the minister on matters relating to tobacco control. Alves, who also chairs the board of the Georgetown Public Hospital, said she agreed with Dr. Adukro.
Well, I do agree with Dr. Adukro that a lot more needs to be done in relation to enforcement. We have a comprehensive piece of legislation, if implemented completely, can really fight the tobacco epidemic, and a lot more needs to be done.
She noted that PAHO has invested in the public education campaign, but it is the ministry which is responsible for training of police and public health officers to ensure enforcement of the law. The National Tobacco Act was lauded as one of the most complete tobacco control laws in the Americas by PAHO. It has several control policies which aim to prevent tobacco use by minors, to protect workers and the public from exposure to tobacco smoke and advertising, enhance public awareness of the hazards of tobacco use, and regulate the tobacco industry. Bibi Katoon reporting for the newsroom.
The International Court of Justice on Friday announced that the public hearings of the Guyana-Venezuela border case will be held on Tuesday, June 30th at 2 p.m. by video conference. The case was initially slated to commence on March 23rd, but was postponed as a result of the deadly new coronavirus. The International Court noted Friday that in view of the current COVID-19 pandemic, the hearings will take place in the Great Hall of Justice using video conference technology and with the physical presence of some of the members of the court. Members of the media and the public will be able to follow the oral proceedings on internet through a live web stream. The program of the hearings will be announced at a later stage. Guyana in March 2018 submitted its application to the ICJ requesting the court to confirm the legal validity and binding effect of the 1899 arbitral award regarding the boundary between Guyana and Venezuela. However, Venezuela refused to participate in the procedure and opted to instead challenge the court's authority to settle the decades-old controversy. There's more news ahead. Stay tuned. You're watching the newsroom. We're glad you could stay with us. No new case of COVID-19 was confirmed on Friday, but the Ministry of Public Health is concerned about the increase of cases in regions 1 and 7, which recorded 9 and 15 cases respectively. The Ministry of Public Health said the two regions account for 16% of the positive cases, and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Shamdev Prasad said that while the common belief is that older persons are more susceptible to contracting the disease, Guyana's cases have shown that younger males are mostly affected.
The situation in Guyana is as follows. As of today, our COVID-19 deaths remain at 11, and the number of confirmed cases remain at 150. To date, the total number of persons tested is 1,586, with the total number of negative cases being 1,436. Guyanese, I wish to focus on our hinterland regions, particularly regions 1 and 7, where we are beginning to witness the emergence of more positive cases, and more so to highlight the implications for our bordering communities as COVID-19 continues to spread across the provinces of neighboring Brazil. On the 21st of May, Maruca had its first case. 2 days later, it had a second case. Today, the 29th, or 8 days after, Maruca has 9 cases with 1 death.
The Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization on Friday donated 4,000 test kits for COVID-19 to the Ministry of Public Health. Country Representative Dr. William Adukro says all frontline workers should be tested. With a new projection of 785 positive COVID-19 cases if Guyana keeps its current curfew and restrictions in place, Dr. Adukro, in an exclusive interview with the newsroom, said the government should reopen the economy in a phased manner. He said the WHO revised model shows that the full reopening of the economy on June 3rd could lead to Guyana recording over 10,000 cases.
This morning we gave them to the lab, and that can take care of 4,000 tests. Now, we are also through the Indian Fund and other funds, USAID, DFID, we are purchasing to the tune of almost 20,000 tests. So I have a feeling by the end of next month there will be a lot of test kits in the system that anybody who needs to get tested will get tested. My fear is we don't test anybody who just wants to know their status, but test those who really need to be tested. Who needs to be tested happens to be anybody who has fever, cough, what was the third one? Chest respiratory symptoms. If you have respiratory symptoms, that is a bigger alert. So any of those, once you have that, and you have been in contact with somebody who has been tested positive, you need to be tested immediately. And I think all healthcare workers also need to be tested because they are treating everybody. So we have to know that they are safe before they can treat anybody. Otherwise, if you don't test healthcare workers and they are out there treating people, only to realize that, oh, well, I've treated 10,000 people, but I myself happens to be positive, I would have exposed all of them. So I think all healthcare workers must be tested. Police, who are out there all the time, need to be tested. Prison warders need to be tested. Prisons, the geriatric home need to be tested. So I think those subpopulations need to be tested, plus those with the symptoms. Now we're expecting, that is, if everything stays the same for a while, and we still have the partial lockdown as we do have, we are likely to have 785 cases or so, around 700 cases. However, if we drop everything on June 3rd, we are likely to have over 10,000 cases. So definitely we cannot lift our advice to government is not to consider lifting all the measures at the same time. So probably a phased approach, and it's up to government to review that and come up with something. But definitely, I think we are doing well. The effective reproductive number has fallen. Now it's about 1.3, which is every positive case affects 1.3 persons. So, and this number came from 3.5, now gradually falling. So it is a good sign. But even though it's a good sign, we cannot stay like this forever. That means that we need to make sure that it's down to a point that the healthcare system can take care of any positive cases that come as a result of opening the system. Because if you open the community up and suddenly you have 100 cases a day, the health system will be overwhelmed. And that's what we have to guide against. So a gradual process so that the healthcare system can also keep positioning itself to be able to react to whatever cases we are getting.
Now to a tragic story. Nandita Mohanram was a normal high school teenager before she was diagnosed with lupus in 2018. On May 5th, Nandita died in the intensive care unit at the Georgetown Public Hospital. She was hospitalized 3 weeks prior to her death after what her father, Vijay Mohanram, thought was just a routine visit. The father is claiming it was the hospital's negligence that led to the death of his daughter. Isanella Patwa reports.
16-year-old Nandita Mohanran managed a systemic autoimmune disease, lupus, for the past 2 years without any major complications. Her father, 41-year-old Vijay Mohanran, is seeking answers after the teen died at the Georgetown Public Hospital on May 5th, 2 days after being administered her first session of dialysis. The single father of 3, during an interview with the newsroom, said his daughter was admitted to the hospital 3 weeks before she died. Mr. Mohanran explained his daughter complained of feeling unwell in November 2018, and he thought it was the flu or a cold.
Well, she when as a person, she used to go to school and she used to come home, and one day she said she didn't feel too well. So I said, "Mom, must a little headache or whatever." You know, you say, "Man, our baby, me get you aspirin or whatever." No? So you drink, and she said, she still not feel too well. 1 day, 2 day, and then she started getting kind of little swelling, and she said, "Man, like she belly, like get a little stiff." So I catch on doctor name, what is the Chinese doctor name? Dr. Fu. So he start, getting injection and whatever, and so I got a couple well doctor, and then I got a best there. And then she been there and whatever, and so and then I get to know what section she had, right?
No best never tell me.
No best, the public. So she got a lupus arthritis pain.
Since then, Nandita has been in and out of the hospital.
The doctor say any swelling, carry she to the to the hospital. So we don't take chance with that part. Because we don't want nothing more, I go seriously. So any swelling, we scare she and spend 2 days, 3 days, just come out.
After some time, her kidney failed and she also suffered with arthritis due to the lupus. Nevertheless, the father said his daughter was still quite normal. He explained that it was after she was admitted to the Georgetown Hospital in April that she went through painful and drastic changes and subsequently her death.
We looking for why didn't I take step on ever front from before, like for look this girl or whatever she may forget it, sister or whatever. Why didn't wait for the last moment to do it? Why didn't I do it from ever front? Like it's so painful for now. Me try hard and spend a lot of money for save your life. For no the doctor and really like take no serious things about people's life. What I should do first, then can do it first, so then also do it the last, and I wait for till Monday for get this girl diocese.
Nandito was the youngest of 3 children and a student of the IFLOT Secondary School, West Coast, Demerara. Mr. Mohan Ram is a sugar worker at the IFLOT estate since 1996. His wife died in 2006, and since then he has been caring for his children. He said he was prepared to give his daughter one of his kidneys if it had come to that. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanella Patwo.
This is the newsroom. Thank you for staying with us. With over 150 COVID-19 cases in Guyana, the Private Sector Commission has said it will not support a complete lockdown to curb the disease unless there is a fully functioning government in place to provide fiscal support. This was stated by Ramesh Prasad, who heads the Economic Subcommittee on the Private Sector Commission. He made his comments during a virtual press conference on Thursday.
We have limitations whereby much of what is needed to be done requires a government that is fully empowered or has the full power to get it done through parliament and so forth. We don't have this fiscal space as a country currently. And in order for us to establish that space to borrow to fulfill the kind of subsidies for social safety nets and to fulfill health supplies and also to provide support to businesses, any stimulus or any support the government is going to have to raise capital, and in that context, they will have to borrow. And such borrowings and such approvals require the government to have all of its footing together done. I've heard that there have been calls for a complete lockdown. Now that is going to be, and that is being done because of some people operating very irresponsible and not following the health guidelines and so forth, causing the government wanting to take harsher steps. So to avoid a complete lockdown, I would like to implore all of the citizens of the country to follow the health guidelines so that whilst we are operating partially, we could still function somewhat and not to kill everything, so that the government will not be motivated to go towards a full lockdown. Having a full lockdown, we've seen how we've operated for the last 3 months. Having a full lockdown without any government support, at least to those who depend on the social safety net and those who will be losing jobs and so forth, could result in a lot more danger, as the cure might be more costly than the treatment might be more costly here.
Now to a tragic story in region number 7. A 9-year-old girl, Cindy John, and her grandmother, 54-year-old Desiree John, were pinned under a tree which fell on their house while they were having dinner. The child was pronounced dead on arrival at the Imbai health post, while the grandmother succumbed to her injuries today, Friday, at the same health center. The newsroom understands that the incident occurred on the family's farm at Pandock Creek in Imbai in the Upper Mazaruni at around 6:20 Thursday evening. The owner of the farm, Bennett John, told the police that his wife, his 21-year-old daughter, and their 3 young grandchildren were having dinner in the kitchen when the tree collapsed on them. The others managed to escape unhurt. You can get the full story at newsroom.gy. Now, the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization will be hosting a virtual concert on Sunday at 7:30 to honor healthcare workers. The organization has done similar concerts in other countries, and the Guyana leg will feature several local artists, including Sharman Blackman, Tamika Marshall, Adrian Dutchin, and Terry Gadrach, among others. PAHO WHO representative Dr. William Adukro on Friday spoke of the concert and its objectives. The concert will be streamed live on E1, Voice of Guyana, Facebook Live, and will be broadcast on National Communications Network.
We believe that the healthcare workers have put their lives on the line, and also the future of their families on the line when they seek to provide healthcare to persons who are suffering from COVID. As a result, some of them are working non-stop, sometimes 12 hours before they get before they can get to go home. And sometimes they even stay overnight in some cases. And also, this is a situation whereby many people fear the condition, yet they have to go to the front, to the war front to actually take care of those cases. So we thought it was wise. WHO did it globally, and we thought it was wise for us to do that nationally, locally for us, and for our healthcare workers, to honor them and to say a big thank you. They haven't finished the work, but at least it goes a long way to say a big thank you to them. And that's what we intend to do. I think when someone is trying to help us, the least we can do is to try to support them and not make them not make them feel unwanted by society. And that's why we wanted to put up this concert. It will start at 7:30 on Sunday, 7:30 in the night on Sunday, and finish at 9. There are 3 master and mistresses of ceremony who will take us through 30-minute segments. And what is happening is we have various artists, Guyanese artists, locally and abroad, who are going to be featuring and showing off their talent in honor of healthcare workers. So I think it would be a good thing for healthcare workers to relax and see what is going on, and also a good thing for all of us to see the talents that are being utilized to thank healthcare workers.